Target profit analysis. Target profit analysis uses the contribution format income statement to determine the sales that will be needed to earn a particular profit and the number of units that will need to be sold in order to reach a particular profit. The contribution format income statement has the same sales as a GAAP income statement and will have the same net operating income as a GAAP income statement. However, the expenses will be broken out based upon cost behavior as opposed to category as to whether it's period cost or a product cost. In this instance, with the contribution format income statement, we have variable expenses which are deducted from sales, which yields the contribution margin, from which fixed expenses are deducted in order to yield net operating income. Setting up the information to solve the problems. You should set up the information to solve the problems using the total sales and expense dollars. Also configure it on a per unit basis, as well as determining the ratios related to the contribution margin, the variable expenses. Sales are always considered to be 100%. Variable expenses are considered a portion of sales, and the contribution margin is also considered to be a portion of sales. So in this instance, you can either do it on a per unit basis or on a total dollar basis. You could take $2.52 and divide it by $6 in order to yield 42%, or you could take $5,040 divided by 12,000 in order to yield 42%. The same carries true for the variable costs. To obtain target profit sales, the formula is target profit sales, which we are going to use as this abbreviation, which will be target profit plus fixed costs, using F as the abbreviation for fixed costs, divided by the contribution margin ratio. So the target profit sales will be equal to the target profit you hope to achieve plus the fixed expenses that you have, divided by the contribution margin ratio. The contribution margin ratio is 42% in our example. And our fixed expenses are $4,000, and we hope to yield a $2,000 profit. So we're going to use this formula in order to determine how many sales we need to make in order to cover both the fixed expenses and to yield a $2,000 profit. So target profit sales are equal to $2,000, which is the target profit, plus $4,000 fixed expenses divided by the contribution margin ratio. This will be $6,000 divided by 0.42, representing the 42%, which means that our target profit sales should be $14,286. So our sales will be $14,286. Now our variable expenses is a portion of sales, and so we're saying that this is a stable relationship. Therefore, 58% of our sales should be the same amount that we should have as variable expenses. So 58% of $14,286 is $8,286, which when subtracted from the $14,286 will give us a contribution margin of $6,000, from which we will deduct the fixed expenses, and this will give us a $2,000 profit. Now we'll look at the number of units that we will have to sell in order to yield the target profit of $14,286. If we wanted to, right now we could just simply, if we know the sales price per unit, we could divide $14,286 by $6 in order to come up with the units. But if we didn't have that information in a problem that we're trying to solve, we'll solve it using the information on a per unit basis if we know the contribution margin per unit. So to obtain target profit quantities, the formula is target profit quantities is equal to the target profit plus fixed cost, represented by F, divided by the contribution margin per unit, or contribution margin with the superscript U. So target profit quantities is equal to target profit plus fixed expenses divided by the contribution margin per unit, which in this instance is $2.52. Our fixed expenses on a total dollar basis are $4,000. And again, we're hoping to yield a $2,000 profit. Target profit quantities is equal to the target profit of $2,000 plus $4,000 in fixed expenses divided by the contribution margin per unit, $6,000 divided by $2.52, which will give us total units that we need to sell of 2,381, which we could multiply by 6,000 in order to give us the total dollar value of total target profit sales. So we could solve for it that way. Let's look at it now in a total dollar value. So we would have 2,381 units, which we multiply by $6 per unit. That would give us 14,286 total dollars. And our contribution, the variable expenses on a per unit basis are $3.48, which when multiplied by the number of units we intend to sell of 2,381 would give us 8,286, which when deducted from 14,286 will give us $6,000, from which we will deduct our fixed expenses and get a target profit of $2,000. So let's look at a recap of the formulas and how to memorize these. Look at what is different between the two formulas. So in this instance, we have target profit sales, and in this instance, we have total profit quantities. So we would in order to help remember this, we would remember it as S and Q. And in this instance, we have target profit plus fixed expenses divided by the contribution margin ratio. So this would be SR to help us remember it. This one is target profit quantities is equal to target profit plus fixed expenses divided by the contribution margin per unit, the difference between the two formulas being the Q and the U. So an easy way to remember it would be QU for quantities, SR for sales.